All right, so I got all 4 of my stringers cut out, and I've actually moved ahead just a little bit and began to install them. We have our last stringer here. I'll show you how to install it. But basically, what I like to do, so I like to pre-install my stairs. That way I can go ahead and take it as one unit and just put it into place. And what I've done here is I've taken the center 2 stringers. They're all laid out exactly the same. The only difference is I have a bottom cord here that's notched into the bottom of my stringer. It's notched on the middle 2 stringers here. I've also notched it into the back top here. And what that's going to allow us to do, this bottom one here is going to keep my stringers in line exactly on layout where they're supposed to be. And this top one is going to do the same. Plus it's going to allow me to have something to screw to my header of my deck to attach a set of stairs. So the biggest benefit of doing that is if I didn't have this top 2x4 here, or 2x6 in some cases, the only way to attach these stringers is from the back of the rim joist and actually screwing into the deck, or into the stringer itself. It's okay. You can go ahead and also use some Simpson tie supports with that as well. They make some stair stringer ties. That's a good strong joint, but now you also have that stair stringer tie on your deck, and it's just not very appealing. So what I like to do, I like to go ahead and nail from behind. I got 3 nails going in here. They're pre-drilled so I don't accidentally split my stringer. And I also have 3 nails coming up from the bottom. That 3 nails plus this 2x4, I can now have all of this nailing or screwing surface of this 2x4, and it's also going to be hidden with my deck board going on top of this. So it's just a different way of installing your stringers. It's a nice clean method because you won't see any of those hangers on your deck. So I got these 3 installed, and basically what I've done, I notched this in because now this last stringer can come in and I can just go ahead and nail from the edge. I don't need to notch this in and nail from behind. It's just not going to look as nice. So I can go ahead and nail from the side. The only thing you see is those few nails. You can go ahead and nail it on the bottom. And with this layout here, basically what I've done is I've just went ahead and basically centered these 2 center stringers within these 2 outer stringers. So I have an equal spacing in between each one. It's not technically wrong to just go ahead and do 16 on center, but if I did that, I'd have an equal spacing and equal spacing, and this last one would be just a little bit shorter. And the reason why I went ahead and just space these out equally is when you're looking at this visually from a finished perspective, you're going to have deck screws going through your deck boards here, and you'll notice that these 2 screws are a little bit closer. So it's not going to hurt to have smaller spacing than 16 on center. You just want to make sure that you don't have greater spacing than 16 on center. And I went ahead and centered these so that finished product, those deck screws will look nice and neat. So to go ahead and install this last stringer here, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to use my deck nails here. There's twist shank, and they're also galvanized 16 pennies. I'm going to go ahead, flush this back 2x4 up, and it really helps to work on a nice flat surface because you've cut all your stringers the same. So you should just be able to lay it nice and flat, and it'll come out nice and flush back here as long as you cut them all the same way. I'm going to go ahead and nail this into place. Taking my time to get it nice and flush. Okay, top's installed. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my bottom here. Just going to twist it to the side so I can access it. I know that my top is nice and flush. As long as I get my bottom flush, this 2x4 is exactly where it needs to go. my last nail in there. All right, and now I have a whole unit of stairs that I can go in and install all at once. I don't have to mess with trying to get all these level because they're all attached into one unit and they're already pre-leveled. So one last step that I kind of want to talk about here before we actually go in and install this. So I can spin this around. And you can see I have this black membrane on top of each of my steps here. And basically what this is it's just ice and water. It's the same material that you would go ahead and put on a roof, and it helps with water penetration. If you can see our 2x12 that we cut, we've basically made a bunch of angled cuts. This board is sitting at an angle, and what we've essentially done since we've cut it at an angle is we've opened up all of that end grain on each of our cuts. If you kind of know the anatomy of wood, end grain kind of acts as a straw, and if you have water sitting on here, it's just going to wick up all of that moisture. So a good way to protect your board here is to go ahead and just put a strip of ice and water on. It's real easy. A lot of it's just peel and stick. You just place it on and take a utility knife and clean up the edges. And I went ahead and used roofing nails here. You can go ahead and use staples. If it's hot enough, it'll probably just stick. But you don't want to put too many fasteners in because you're going to put deck boards on top of it. And those screws will eventually hold us in place. But just put enough fasteners in to keep it in place, and go ahead and do the top of every single step, and that's going to greatly help the water protection of your deck and make your set of stairs last a little bit longer. So we'll go ahead and get this set of stairs in position, and I'll finish ice and watering this last step off camera. Okay, so we have our set of stairs all put together here. We went ahead and nailed all 4 of our stringers together with our top and bottom support system here. And then we went ahead and got all of our waterproofing membrane on top of our steps here. So what we can do now is we can start thinking about attaching our set of stairs to our deck. So for this specific project here, because we cut that top step off, and are going to be using this rim joist as our top step, our set of stairs is going to be sitting about here on our deck here. So I went ahead and added an extra 2x6 here just to give us a little bit of a backer, so it's not just relying on this 1 inch of rim joist, and just went ahead and nailed it on. The second thing I kind of want to focus here is kind of the position. You might be able to see it a little bit easier on the end here, but our post is on the inside of our rim joist here. I want to think ahead about my handrail and my railing as we come down to the bottom of the stairs. So I got this 1.5 inches of thickness here, and my extra 2x6 is also coming out all the way to the outside of this rim joist, and I have 1.5 inches of space behind here. And my first stair stringer, I actually want it to sit on that 1.5 inches here. That way, when I have my post inset on the inside of this rim joist, I'm going to have my stair stringer here on this 1.5 inches. And now, as I put my post on the bottom of the stairs, I'm going to have that whole 1.5 inches all the way along here. And now my post will be nice and lined up. If I didn't think about that now, my post on the bottom of my stairs might be 1.5 inches off one way or the other, and our hand railing would be a pain to deal with trying to make it look straight. So you want to go ahead and think about making sure your posts line up, and you can go ahead and watch our site layout video for this project. If we were actually on dirt, I'm on concrete right now, can't dig it through concrete for these posts, but I would have laid out those posts in my site layout and got them exactly where they're supposed to go, so I can just drop these stairs right on those posts. So now that we've thought about those 2 things, we've installed our 2x6 here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the bottom of my deck board here, come down our magic number of 6 11/16 and make a mark on this side as well as that side. You may be wondering why I'm not going from the top of the deck board. That's because we're going to be putting a deck board on top of here, which will rise it up as we put that 1.5 inches here. Now from the top of that deck board to the top of our deck will be that 6 11/16. So I'm accounting for that right now by just going from the bottom of the deck board. So we got 6 11/16 on this side, 6 11/16 on this side. And then I'll bring a line on across here with a chalk line. And snap my level line. Okay, so that line is going to represent where I want to put my set of stairs here. And one good double check that you may want to do is go ahead and take a level. If your deck is level, this line should be level, but it'll just be a good double check making sure that you took a correct measurement off of the deck. And we are still sitting perfectly level. So you can begin to see, I'm gonna go ahead and get my fasteners in place here. But you can start to see that benefit of having this board here. Instead of having to attach each one of these stringers separately, I'll be able to just go ahead and use this 2x4 as my attachment point and attach these stairs. So I'm going to go ahead and get all my fasteners and get my drill ready, and we'll go ahead and attach this set of stairs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and attach this to our rim joist here in our extra 2x6. I'm going to be using the same ledger locks that I've used for the rest of the deck. These ledger locks are just 4 inches long, and it'll go through my 2x4 here into my rim joist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this right up to my line here. I'm also going to focus on getting this edge nice and flush, and then I can go ahead and install my first ledger lock here. Okay, nice and flush there. And then I'll go ahead and get this side brought up to my line. And install it on this side. And then I'll install one final screw right in between these two stringers. All right, so our stringers are now set in place, and I just wanted to focus on our base here real quick. There's two ways of attaching your stairs to the ground. One, like I had mentioned in the beginning, setting your post in dirt or concrete 4 feet down below grade here, and then you'd bring those posts up and they would act as your handrail. Another solution would be to actually pour a concrete footer right below this bottom step here, and then attach your post via post blocks, which is what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and get our posts pre-cut here and start to install them here at the bottom of the set of stairs. All right, so we moved ahead just a little bit here. I have my posts installed, and this would theoretically replicate a post being sunk into the ground. And what we did to sturdy these posts up a little bit is we started making these post pockets. And basically what a post pocket is it's a stretcher from stringer to stringer, a little tiny block here in the front, and then when we install our riser to the front here, we'll be able to screw through the front into our post, and now we have a little pocket basically for this post to be sitting in. And really there's not much to hold this post because we have just a little bit of stringer here. But making that pocket's really going to sturdy this post up, which in the end is really going to sturdy up our handrail. So take a little extra time. Don't just rely on the stringer to take all the brunt of the railing force, and go ahead and make these little pockets. With that being said, the next benefit of using these pockets is you only really need one fastener through the outside of the stringer here. If you get a little crazy and start putting a couple stringers in here, this wood is very weak going on this access here. So anytime you put any fasteners in here, you run the risk of splitting this out. And once you split this last little corner off, the bottom tread is basically worthless and you need to make a new stringer. So pre-drill these, and you shouldn't be splitting your bottom step off. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our riser material here and get our risers cut to final length and installed, and we'll be ready for our treads. Okay, so our risers are cut here. We went ahead and installed them. It's pretty simple. You just put it right up. Make sure it's nice and flush with the top of the tread here, and then nice and neat, put 2 screws right through the front, right into the stringer. Again, this is going to be a show side, so you want to take some time and actually make these screws nice and centered with the stringer and equidistant from the top and bottom to make them look nice. So after all of your risers are in place, it's time to go ahead and put the treads in place. Again, remember we figured in to have that inch overhang because our deck has that inch overhang. This is technically called the nosing of the stairs, and you want to have a little bit of nosing. One, it's really good for aesthetics, but two, you want to make sure that that nosing is exactly the same on every set of stairs. Otherwise, if it's just a little bit different, it's going to become a tripping hazard. So you want to make sure that that inch and a half is, or sorry, that inch that we have on this deck or on this set of stairs is the same all the way across and on all 3 sets of stairs here. We're not going to show you how to put the stair treads on. It's the same exact as deck boards. We went over that pretty extensively in our deck video. Feel free to check that out. We show you how to notch around these posts. But what we do want to show you here is how to actually get this angle on our posts here. As you can see, we went ahead and just ran our posts long. That way there's no math. You don't have to set them in the ground at a certain height, or at least accurately. Just run them long, and then we'll show you how to do the math on how to actually get this angle right where it's supposed to be. So what we're going to do is I'll show you on this post here. I'm going to put a piece of deck board down here just as a reference, because this is going to be our final tread height here, and I want to take my measurement off of that. So what we do is we're going to take our final railing height of our deck here, which is 35.5 for this particular project. Every railing's different. Make sure you know that final height. And that height is to the top of my plate here, or of my handrail. So what I'm going to do is take that measurement from the top of the deck to the top of the handrail here. And it's also really important, I'm right at that 35.5. It's really important to take that measurement from the front of the post, either corner here. The reason being is if you take it from the front of the post here, you want to take it from the front of the post down at the bottom of the stairs. If you flip-flop your sides, your angle is going to be way off. So just make sure you're taking from the same edge here. So took it from the front here. I'm going to go ahead and from my front edge here, make sure my deck board is all the way down. I'll step on it here. And then get a pencil ready. And from my front edge here, I'm going to come up from my stair tread and come up that 35.5. And you want to be pretty accurate here. I'm going to make my mark. And I'll go ahead and strike that across. Now, I should mention, this isn't going to be our cut line. This is just a theoretical line right now. So just make sure you know not to cut that yet. So the next thing that I'm going to do is on this side of the post, because I'm going to work completely on this side, I'm going to go ahead and drop a straight line down from the front of my post to the top of my rail, because I'm going to want that point, this very top point here of this deck that's flush with the top of the, or front of the post here, to reference my level. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my level here and just connect those 2 dots. I'm going to connect here And I'm going to connect here. Make sure we're being nice and accurate. Be nice to have 3 hands. All right. Going to hold the level, and I'm going to scribe this line right on my post. All right. So basically what this has done now is we've established the angle of this post, or the top of this post. Again, this is going to be a theoretical line. If you see up here, we have this 1.5 inch handrail on top here. We're going to match that 1.5 inch handrail on top of here. What I just found was the top height of that handrail. I need to account for that thickness of material, and it's going to be regular 2x material. Doesn't matter what you get, just make sure it's 2x. And what you can do is you can take the thickness of that 2x and line it up with our line right here, and then scribe the bottom. And all we're doing is, that wasn't a very good scribe line. You can see my angle here. Darken it up a little bit. All we're doing is accounting for that thickness of handrail here. And basically what you don't want to do is, you know your handrail is 1.5 inches. You don't want to come down here and measure that 1.5 inches, because it's not a true 1.5 inches because we're at that angle. It actually comes out to be 1 inch and 13/16 or so. So instead of doing that math, I just like to hold up the 2x there and scribe that. And now this is going to be our cut angle, or our cut line here. So now that we've established that angle, we can go ahead and take our square and very carefully bring our line around here. Across the front is going to be a nice square line. And now we're going to transfer this angle onto this other side. So what I can do is I can use my speed square here. Move it around so you can see. And I'm going to figure out the angle of this line. And it looks like we are right at 33 degrees. So I'm going to make a mark here. So now that we have our angle, we know it's 33 degrees. I can come from our square line that we brought across here, and I'm going to set my pivot point of my square right on that line and come up 33 degrees in this direction. Now I want to take extra care to make sure I'm right on that line, and also to make sure that I'm right on 33 degrees. That looks pretty good. And then I can scribe my line coming up this way. So now that we have the angle on both sides, what we can do is we can carefully make a mark right at the top of this angle on this side, do the same on this side, and hopefully our lines match up perfectly, which in this case, they are spot on, it looks like. So if those lines match up nice, go ahead and scribe that across. If they don't, trust your angle that you set with your level, because that's going to be the most accurate. And a better way, or I shouldn't say a better way, another way to get this angle instead of a speed square, it would be like a T-bevel. You can set that same angle on this side and just go ahead and transfer it without having to set right at 33 degrees. That T-bevel will be the same as this angle, and it might be a little bit quicker for you. But your goal is to make sure that these two lines match up with a 90-degree line. If they don't and you cut, your post is going to be crooked on the top and you're not going to have a very nice cut. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and get our circular saw and we can make this cut. Okay, so I got my circular saw here, and I went ahead and double checked that my table here to my circular saw is perfectly square with my blade. You really want to do a triple and quadruple check on that to make sure it's nice and square. Otherwise, your cuts aren't going to match up here. With the circular saw, this blade isn't quite deep enough to go all the way through, so you're going to have to make two cuts which is why we made extra sure that our lines matched up properly all the way around. So if we come on this side and we come on this side, match the two cuts up, they should be nice and flush in the middle. Also, I've seen a lot of times when people are in an extra hurry, they just come in here with a Sawzall and try to make a nice clean cut. Don't use a Sawzall, it's not accurate. No matter how hard you try, it's not going to come out perfect. It might be 1 in 100 times it comes close, but just use a circular saw. It's a better way to do it, more accurate way. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to go ahead and make a cut on this side, and then I'm going to turn around and make the cut on this side. Okay, so got a pretty clean cut here. Matched up, we got about a 1/16 or so. That's pretty close, and our top rail will then sit on top of here and hide this cut mark. So we'll go ahead and do the same exact routine over here. We'll find this top point, we'll come down with a level, make sure we're measuring off our deck board here to that 35.5, match it up with a level, account for the thickness of our 2x top rail, and then we're ready to chop this side off as well. So we'll go ahead and lay these marks out as well. All right, so one last thing before we end this stair video here. I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about how you would go about the railing for this. We went over how to do the railing pretty extensively in the deck video. We have 3 different types of railings that you guys can choose from. No matter which way which one you choose, the concept's going to be the same. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how to put the railing up here and figure out those angles. We left this railing on the deck just a little bit long, just to show that there's 2 different ways to kind of go about finishing off this handrail here. One is to leave it long and have it come past this handrail. This handrail will come up underneath it, and then you could do a little decorative end on the end of this railing here, which looks nice. It's a little bit more work trying to get this angle to come up right up underneath here and get a nice looking angle. The other way to do it is you can come in here and cut this right off flush with the front of our post here. And then as you bring your railing or your handrail up towards this, I guess the long point of that railing is going to stick up just a hair past the top railing of this. All you have to do is come in here with a belt sander after that's in, knock that little 1/4 inch off, and you'll have a little flat part on this front handrail here. But then it's just a nice transition of handrails, and it just looks really nice when it's done. Then I would do that same concept of leaving this handrail long down here and putting that nice little 45 chamfer edge on the front of that, and decorating this up just a little bit. But I like knocking this off because then basically all you have to do is, if you're gonna have a handrail coming in here, you can go ahead and just take your handrail and match it up with the top corner here, match it up with our cut here, which is now nice and flush, and you can just scribe these 2 angles, and now you have your angle for your handrail. And you can do that for the top, you can do that for the bottom. I do suggest make sure your stair treads are in first before you do that. because you're probably gonna reference those stair treads with your bottom rail here. Again, scribe it, cut those, and then you're ready to install in between. We went over extensively how to do the spindles in the deck video. It's gonna be the same concept. One major mistake we see a lot of people doing is making the spindles square with the rail. If you are doing a deck, your spindles should not be going perpendicular with your railing. It should be nice and plumb, just like the rest of your spindles are here. And what you do to make sure they're nice and centered between your posts is you're going to start with that center spindle and then work off both ways from that center spindle, making sure you have an equal gap all the way along. If you spend your time getting that center spindle nice and plumb, screw it in place and use a spacer block going all the way along each way, you're going to have a nice equally spaced spindles and they're going to be nice and plumb. So just a real quick description on how to do these handrails. Take your time, make them look nice, and then after they're installed, your set of stairs is completely finished.